The Devoted Friend by Oscar Wilde. Scene 1. Exterior, pond, morning. The old water rat puts his head out of his hole. Little ducks swim. Their mother, pure white with red legs, tries to teach them to stand on their heads. Duck, you will never be in the best society unless you can stand on your heads. Ducks ignore her. Water rat, what disobedient children. They really deserve to be drowned. Duck, nothing of the kind. Everyone must make a beginning, and parents cannot be too patient. Water rat, I know nothing about the feelings of parents. I am not a family man. In fact, I have never been married, and I never intend to be. Love is all very well in its way, but friendship is much higher. Indeed, I know of nothing in the world that is either nobler or rarer than a devoted friendship. Green linnet from a willow tree. And what, pray, is your idea of the duties of a devoted friend? Duck. Yes, that is just what I want to know. She swims to the end of the pond and stands on her head. Water rat. What a silly question. I should expect my devoted friend to be devoted to me, of course. Linnet. And what would you do in return? I don't understand you. Let me tell you a story on the subject. Is the story about me? If so, I will listen to it, for I am extremely fond of fiction. It is applicable to you. He flies down to the bank. Once upon a time, there was an honest little fellow named Hans. Was he very distinguished? No, I don't think he was distinguished at all, except for his kind heart and his funny, round, good-humored face. Scene 2. Exterior, Hans's garden, day. Hans works in his garden, flowers everywhere. The rich miller leans over the wall. Linnet, little Hans had a great many friends, but the most devoted friend of all was Big Hugh the miller. Indeed, so devoted was the rich miller to little Hans that he would never go by his garden without leaning over the wall and plucking a large nosegay or a handful of sweet herbs, or filling his pockets with plums and cherries if it was the fruit season. Real friends should have everything in common. Hans nods and smiles. Linnet, sometimes the neighbors thought it strange that the rich miller never gave little Hans anything in return, though he had 100 sacks of flour, 6 milch cows, and a large flock of woolly sheep. But Hans never troubled his head. Scene 3. Interior miller's house, winter night. The miller sits with his wife and youngest son by a pinewood fire. The son speaks. Miller's son. But could we not ask little Hans up here? If poor Hans is in trouble, I will give him half my porridge and show him my white rabbits. Miller, what a silly boy you are. Why, if little Hans came up here and saw our warm fire, and our good supper, and our great cask of red wine, he might get envious. I certainly will not allow Hans's nature to be spoiled. Besides, if Hans came here, he might ask me to let him have some flour on credit. Flour is one thing, and friendship is another. Everybody can see that. Miller's wife, how well you talk. Really, I feel quite drowsy. It is just like being in church. Lots of people act well, but very few people talk well. The son hangs his head and cries into his tea.
Scene 4 XT, Hans's garden. Spring primroses open. The miller comes down the hill with a big basket. Miller. Good morning, little Hans. Hans, leaning on spades, smiling. Good morning. Miller. How lovely your primroses are looking. By the by. Hans. They are very lovely. I am going to sell them to the burgomaster's daughter and buy back my wheelbarrow. Miller. Hans, I will give you my wheelbarrow. It is not in very good repair, but I will give it to you. Hans. Well, really, that is generous of you. Miller. A plank of wood. That is just what I want for the roof of my barn. How lucky you mentioned it. Pray get it at once. Hans runs and drags out the plank. Miller. Now, as I have given you my wheelbarrow, I am sure you would like to give me some flowers in return. Here is the basket. Mind you fill it quite full. Hans, sorrowfully. Quite full. Miller. As I have given you my wheelbarrow, I don't think that is much to ask. Friendship, true friendship, is quite free from selfishness. Hans. My dear friend, you are welcome to all the flowers in my garden. Hans fills the basket. The miller leaves with the plank and basket.
Scene 5. EXT. Hans's cottage. Various days. The miller keeps asking for favors. Miller, with a sack of flour. Dear little Hans, would you mind carrying this sack of flour for me to market? Hans, I am so sorry, but I am very busy today. Miller. Considering that I am going to give you my wheelbarrow, it is rather unfriendly of you to refuse. Hans. Oh, don't say that. Hans carries the flour. Scene 6. XT. Miller's barn. Sunset. Hans mends the roof all day. Miller. Have you mended the hole in the roof yet, little Hans? Hans. It is quite mended. Miller. There is no work so delightful as the work one does for others. Hans. I am afraid I shall never have such beautiful ideas as you have. Miller. You must take more pains. Now that you have mended the roof, you had better go home and rest, for I want you to drive my sheep to the mountain tomorrow. Hans says nothing. Next day, he drives the sheep. Scene 7. XT. Hans's cottage. Night storm. A loud rap at the door. Hans opens it. The miller stands with a lantern and a big stick. Miller. Dear little Hans, I am in great trouble. My little boy has fallen off a ladder. I am going for the doctor, but it would be much better if you went instead of me. You know I am going to give you my wheelbarrow, so it is only fair that you should do something for me in return. Hans. Certainly, but you must lend me your lantern. The night is so dark. Miller. I am very sorry, but it is my new lantern. It would be a great loss to me if anything happened to it. Hans. Well, never mind. I will do without it. Hans puts on his fur coat, ties a muffler, and starts off. Scene 8. EXT. Moor, night, storm, rain torrents. Wind roars. Hans loses his way on the moor full of deep holes. Linnet, narrating. There poor little Hans was drowned. His body was found the next day by some goatherds, floating in a great pool of water. Scene 9. XT. Hans's funeral. Day everyone attends. The miller is the chief mourner in a long black cloak, wiping his eyes. Miller. As I was his best friend, it is only fair that I should have the best place. Blacksmith, at the inn afterwards. Little Hans is certainly a great loss to everyone. Miller. A great loss to me, at any rate. Why, I had as good as given him my wheelbarrow, and now I really don't know what to do with it. I will certainly take care not to give away anything again. One always suffers for being generous. Scene 10. Back to the pond. Long pause. Water rat. Well? But what became of the miller? Linnet. Oh, I really don't know, and I am sure that I don't care. Water rat. It is quite evident, then, that you have no sympathy in your nature. Linnet. I am afraid you don't quite see the moral of the story. Water rat, angry. Do you mean to say that the story has a moral? I think you should have told me that before you began. He shouts, "Pooh!" at the top of his voice, whisks his tail, and goes back into his hole. Duck, paddling up.
And how do you like the water rat? He has a great many good points, but I can never look at a confirmed bachelor without the tears coming into my eyes. Linnet. I am rather afraid that I have annoyed him. The fact is, I told him a story with a moral. Duck. Ah, that is always a very dangerous thing to do.